Well, coming up in just a little bit, I do want to talk a little bit about Darren LaHood. He gave a statement to Wire Points about Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Biden administration supporting these CCP backed companies and looking. I mean, these CCP backed companies are looking, and the CCP itself, they're looking to expand their foothold in our economy. And he provides a statement on the CCP to Wire Points. So I've got to talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Plus, it's tragic, and I've seen it going on this past week at an alarming rate. You've got to understand that leftists, they're not going to respond to these killings rationally. They're going to try to explain them away through some sort of theory, and they'll never stop supporting these defund police progressive policies. Progressivism is their religion, and they will never rebuke it. Okay, it doesn't matter how many leftists die as a result of these policies. Again, another leftist, a stabbing took place early on Monday morning in New York City, claiming the life of a poet and a far left activist. His name was Ryan Carson. He was 32 years old, and he was walking down the sidewalk with his girlfriend when he was attacked by a stranger, and he died. Yesterday, I told you about Kruger, John Kruger. He was a far left activist as well. His entire life, practically, had a long history of downplaying violent crime and making fun of those who were concerned about violent crime. And he was a far left activist, and he died after being shot several times in the street like a dog uh, at 1 a.m. in the morning. So, I mean, and we're starting to see this. I mean, we've seen it in Illinois. I've told you about Gabriel Calixto. He's an illegal immigrant. He was here. He stayed past his DACA uh, status as a DACA recipient. He was a DACA recipient. He stayed past his time. It expired, and he served in the Illinois Department of Corrections for some time for kidnapping a girl, and he got out somehow, some way. He wasn't deported. I don't know how after you kidnap a girl, you're not deported back to your country. Instead, you clog up our prison system, and my taxpayer dollars feed you and clothe you and give you a place to stay. And he gets out of prison, and then he preys on another young woman. This woman, a far left activist, Emma Schaefer, and she was on the immigration project. She did all kinds of help, or she helped out with leftist causes, and she delivered groceries to illegal immigrants. So she was very much involved with immigration and illegal immigrants, and she wound up dating this guy, and he is accused of stabbing her. Now, I say accused because the guy's on the run. We don't even know where this guy's at. So I'm going to be talking about this. These leftists, they're going to respond to all of these killings irrationally. They're going to try to explain them away, and they're never going to stop supporting their progressive policies because it's a religion to that. It's not even a religion; it's a cult. So the difference between a religion and a cult is that religion recognizes that they follow things in faith. Okay, they're putting their faith in something, and they recognize that it's a faith thing. Um, a cult, they they believe it's real, and they believe that it is the answer, and that it is the truth, and they believe that there is no such thing as putting your faith in it. They believe that, hey, this is end all be all progressive policies, and there's nothing more out there. So we're gonna get to that, and this woman in a Walmart screaming, "Racist, racist!" She's being arrested for slapping a cop. There was speculation that she was stealing, and that's why the cop approached her, although the police have denied that, which is bizarre. But we're gonna get to that story after I talk about Matt Gaetz here. I've got to take a quick break, but Matt Gaetz, he brought forward a vote that would vacate the current speaker, which was Kevin McCarthy. He is now the former speaker. And, I'm not too sure about this one. I'm a little afraid because Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's out there. She goes, "I agree we need a serious change." But she didn't vote to oust McCarthy. Neither did Mary Miller of Illinois. And these congresswomen are both members of the Freedom Caucus. And, she goes, "There's no plan and no one capable of even stepping up." Last time the Freedom Caucus threw out a speaker, We ended up with Paul Ryan, so who did not support President Trump's agenda. Nothing can truly change until Trump is back in the White House, and I agree with that. And Mary Miller, she's out there saying, I mean, pretty much the same thing. She said, um, that she voted against McCarthy 15 times in January, but refused to join the Democrats yesterday in ousting the speaker, saying that it would end the Biden impeachment inquiry. So there's some good things Kevin McCarthy did, such as this impeachment inquiry. And I know some people are like, Cat, no, he didn't, because it was too late and he should have brought forward more than just an impeachment inquiry. I agree. I agree. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get Byron Donalds in there. I sure hope so. But what if a Hakeem Jeffries gets in? I'm kind of worried about that. We're going to talk a little bit about this on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. I'm back on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. You guys can see me there live in studio. So we're going to be back. Catch you later. Hey, folks, if you're watching, go ahead and smash that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. Scoot. LGBTQ people are not pedos or groomers. They are not indoctrinating kids. LGBTQ people are nice people. Look, there you cannot deny that there is a radical agenda afoot. Okay, with this LGBTQism, there's no reason why girls and men have to share spaces in the bathroom. I'm sorry, but Scoot, you're wrong. um, there is this radical agenda. There's this LGBTQ push on children, and there's no reason for it. Um, we are going to be talking a little bit about how the kids are fed up with it. Explain this story. A student walkout, the school district finally voting that male students can't use the girls' bathrooms anymore. We had a bunch of students, I mean, hundreds of students, walk out of this school because they're sick of the policy that allows men into women's spaces. Here's what one student said. He goes, "Kids were upset. Girls we wanted to protect them. They were upset and they didn't want the boys using their bathroom." This is what a high school boy says. So what do you say to that, Scoot? It's not my words, it's their words. The kids don't like it either. So they staged a walkout. They walked out of the school and the school board listened to them and they implemented a policy. So the culture is working. The culture we're winning. Um, the policy was implemented where girls have to use girls' restrooms and boys have to use boys' restrooms. Now, a part of that policy is, hey, for the transgender folks, if you want to use your own bathroom, you can. They're going to be single-use stalls, and they're multi-purpose stalls, so they're handicap stalls, and you can go in there and use those if you'd like. But you're not going to be using the um, the multi-user facilities. Um, And if you're using the multi-user facilities, you have to use the facility that is of your assigned sex, that aligns with your biological sex. None of this, it's biological sex. None of the whole trans women or women are women bogus. None of that. Um, those things exist. Okay, biological sex exists. So yeah. Explain that. Explain why if they're not indoctrinating children, if they're not, groomers or pedophiles, why are they making kids uncomfortable? And that's not me. I mean, the father of one of these girls in this story here said that his daughter came home. She was upset. She was emotionally disturbed because a trans individual walked into the bathroom while she was using it. She had an encounter with one of these students in the facilities. And I mean, explain that. Okay, so if you're emotionally upset and disturbed, which was her father's wording here, he posted to social media that his daughter was left upset. If they're upset, and if they're upset about having to share a space that is sexually charged in some way because you unclothe yourself in a bathroom, um, then I would question, are they not pedophiles? Are they not groomers? They are grooming children. Okay, these drag events where 15-year-olds are present. We've got uh, Democrat Party and LGBTQ activists, so they're at these drag parties or whatever, and they're spanking grown men with paddles and m like, in leather, like, BDSM, is that what that's called? I don't even know. Um, and they're doing that in front of children. I don't know what you would call that. What would you call that? That's exposing children to sexually explicit material. Um, LGBTQ people aren't but I know plenty of gay people. I know plenty of gay people who agree. Have you heard of Gays Against Groomers? This is a huge organization that is designed by and for gay people. Gay people don't like this movement. True gay people do not like this radical agenda. I know plenty of gay people who do not want children exposed to grown men being spanked with a paddle. uh, okay, so yeah, gosh, it just boggles my mind. May be nice to people, but they sure should not be using the same spaces, locker rooms, and restrooms. Come to mind. Yes, they may be nice people, but they should not be using the same spaces as women. Men should not be using the same spaces as women. These are safe spaces. The bathroom is where you go. When I was in school, and I know when you were in school, dude, um, you used to get expelled for that kind of stuff. If a boy were to go into the girls' bathroom, you'd get expelled. Why are we allowing this nonsense? Okay, we're gonna come back talking about the Kevin McCarthy story. He's been removed. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Man, I love reading your comments. Here's a few of them. I like this one, Ryan. He talks about obesity not being a disability. Yes. So that's about the story that I did earlier in the 6 o'clock hour about this obese influencer. She's a plus size influencer, is what she calls herself. And she's calling on hotels to widen the hallways and to lift the bathroom toilet seats. And she's asking for all of these accommodations. This is the same woman who thinks that passengers on the plane should pay for the extra seats of that she takes up when she's traveling on a plane. If she takes up 4 or 5 seats, then it should be on you to pay for her seat, not her to pay for her seat. And I don't like this idea that obesity is a disability. I don't like that at all. People with disabilities don't scream and cry and get all upset if the accommodations are not paid for by you. I've never met a disabled person who uses accommodations demanding and angry that you aren't paying for those accommodations. Okay. Uh, yeah, so this was a wild story. I just couldn't even believe it. She said she's like 6X and she was calling for, chair lifts into the pool. She was calling for the hallways to be widened. And why should you have to pay for that? Because the hotels are going to up the rates, right? If they have to make all of these accommodations for a very small portion of the population. Couple of other comments. Scoot is in the chat. He says LGBTQ people are not pedos or groomers. They're not indoctrinating children. LGBTQ people are nice people. Uh, I don't disagree. I think that LGBTQ people can be nice people. However, there is a radical agenda afoot where we are forcing children to watch things like inappropriate drag shows, drag queens slapping the butts of mayors in these progressive cities, Democrat-run cities, with paddles, and children are present, and they're in fishnet leggings. I mean, this is sexually explicit material, and we should not be exposing that to children. In fact, most laws say that you cannot expose children to sexually explicit material. I encourage you to go look up Gays Against Groomers. There's plenty of gay people who are against this radical agenda. Good morning. Hey, we are going to get to Kevin McCarthy. I swear to God, I'm going to get to Kevin McCarthy because it's important. But also, you need to know that there is this weird thing where leftists, and I talked about this a lot yesterday. There's this weird thing where leftists are dying. Okay, prominent leftists are dying. activists. Now they're going to try to explain these killings away. They're not going to explain these killings rationally. They're going to try to respond to these killings irrationally. They're never going to rebuke their progressive policies because progressivism is their cult. It's their religion. It's like a religious cult, I guess. They don't have faith in anything. They live and die by progressive policies. There's a difference between putting your faith in something and living and dying by a cause that doesn't even make any sense. Okay. Um, but they'll never rebuke their progressive policies, and they're going to continue to defund the police, and they're going to continue to die. And in this story, I brought you a story yesterday. His name, I think, was Josh Kruger or something like that. He was a far left activist, and he was shot dead like a dog in the street several times at 1 a.m. in the morning. And he was one of those activists that continually downplayed violent crime, said it didn't exist, and said that it was some sort of talking point made up by Republicans or far right extremists. Okay. No, violent crime happens and it's increasing across the nation. It's increasing here in the state of Illinois, and it's definitely a big problem in Chicago, despite what JB says via tweet. I mean, these people are delusional. They are insane. JB is I think that this guy should be charged with something for posting this tweet. This is reckless like you're going to endanger people's lives by pushing this propaganda. He says Chicago is truly the best big city, and there's no surprise why. We've got energy and spirit, and now the honor of hosting the Chicago DNC 2024. Let's show the nation how it's done, Chicago. Um, so he's sitting there saying that Chicago is the best city on earth, in the nation. That is a lie. If you go into Chicago, you will. I mean, I was watching a video out of Chicago of this guy just getting beaten into the street. These people had to pull his body out of the street, his buddies. I think it was gang related, if I had to guess, but he was beaten by this guy. He was beaten in the street. He was left there to die in the street. Cars were coming, and his buddies came and pulled him out of the street so that way he wouldn't get run over by a car. But he was beaten so badly he couldn't move out of the street. So they had to drag him out of the street. I watched that video and I scrolled a little bit down on X on Twitter. And then I find JB's tweet saying that Chicago is the best place on earth. You've got to be kidding me. And that kind of stuff is going to kill people. Okay. You're killing people with that kind of propaganda, JB, because you're convincing people that it's okay to go to Chicago, and it's not. You're convincing people that it's okay to walk around at 1 a.m. in the morning in one of these Democrat run cities where there's no police. They're all defunded. Okay. And these progressive policies, these urban crime policies are killing people. And these leftists believe it. They believe it. They believe that there is no violent crime. And that's just not true. And when you believe that with your might and with your being, you don't see what's right in front of you. I mean, I'm going to explain this story and you will not, and I'm going to share the video with you. It's an uncensored video of the stabbing that took place. Ryan Carson, he's a far left activist. He was a poet. His life was claimed. His girlfriend and him, they were walking down the street, and this stranger comes up and starts stabbing him. And they went towards the danger. Like actually went towards the danger. Okay, this guy was being disorderly. He was knocking down scooters. He was yelling. He was screaming. These guys were sitting on a park bench. The guy was kind of far off, and then they get up from their park bench, and then they start walking towards this guy who's knocking over scooters and screaming profanities. Then they start walking towards this guy. The guy starts yelling at them. They continue to walk towards him and try to de-escalate the situation. What? This is the problem. This is a cult. What when you see somebody acting that way, what's your reaction? My reaction is to get out of there. Get the hell out of there. You're going to die. That guy's crazy. There's nothing wrong with saying that. And now this guy's quite literally dead. He's dead because he didn't think that there was violent crime. And it's not just happening in places like New York, Chicago. It's happening in your community. Springfield, this girl, Emma Schaefer, she's a left-wing activist. working on the immigration project, whatever. And she meets this guy, Gabriel Calixto. He's pictured with Dick Durbin, and he's overstayed his DACA status. He's here illegally. He winds up kidnapping this other girl, serves some time in an Illinois prison for that. Gets out, meets Emma, and now he's accused of stabbing her to death. Okay, and he's on the run. She put herself in a situation she didn't think illegal immigration had consequences, repercussions, anything like that. She didn't think that illegal immigrants, golly, maybe they might be dangerous. We don't know anything about them, and they're here in our country. We don't know anything about them. They crossed here illegally. They did something illegal to get here, but they're great people. No, these people are military-aged men coming over the border, and they're psychotic. This is a guy who has a long history of beating up on women, kidnapping women. Come on. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. You've got to watch this. And I'm glad that I've got the stream here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. So that way you could watch this woman screaming, Walmart is racist! Walmart is racist! As she's being arrested for slapping a cop. She slaps the cop because the cop, I believe, approaches her because he thinks that she's stealing. And she just loses her mind. Loses her mind. And I've got the video and I can't wait to show it to you here on the Buzz. I'm Kat Peterson. You guys can always call me, text me. Let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee. I got my coffee today. It says, ask me about my program or pronouns. That's my mug, my coffee mug. Got my pronouns mug. Here we go. Yes, this was actually sold at Target. This ask me about my pronouns mug. Now, this is not supposed to be ironic. I bought it ironically, and I thought it was really funny. I saw this and it was like on one of the end caps, like on display. And I was like, really? Somebody would buy something like this? I was like, I will. And, when people ask me what my pronouns are, I'm going to say secure the border. Those are my pronouns. Secure the border. We are going to be talking about Kevin McCarthy a little bit later. I am going to be talking about these killings. So, a lot of prominent leftists, activists are dying in the streets. And this is attributed, of course, to their progressive policies. We know that, you know that, I know that, but they won't admit that. They're going to try to respond to these killings irrationally. They're going to try to explain them away through theory, and they're never going to stop supporting defund the police movements or policies because progressivism is their religion. It really is a cult. Progressivism is a cult, and they are never going to rebuke it. Bottom line. And a stabbing took place on Monday morning in New York City, and it claiming the life of this guy. He's a far left activist, a poet. His name's Ryan Carson. He was 32 years old, walking down a sidewalk with his girlfriend, and he was attacked by a stranger, and he died. He actually went towards the stranger after the stranger was being disorderly, and it's mind-boggling how these people truly don't believe that there's an increase in violent crime. And before I get to Kevin McCarthy, I'm going to say this. I'm very upset with our governor. He's he's the worst. And tweets like this, I believe he should be charged with some sort of reckless endangerment. And I'm scrolling on Twitter and I watched this video in Chicago. It's in Chicago. I recognize where it's at. I used to or I was looking at colleges before I decided on Illinois State University to go there for journalism. I was looking at places like Columbia, DePaul, uh, in Chicago, and I decided against Chicago because of how crazy chaotic it was. And I said, this isn't the place for me. I really like the small town feel. And I chose Illinois State University because I was just not a city person. Okay. And um, this is truly disturbing. When I was watching this video, and it's taking place in Chicago, this guy is beaten so bad. He's punched, kicked by this other guy, and I'm assuming it's gang related because there were multiple bystanders and they were cheering it was like a fight club, I guess, and they were cheering each other on. And this guy winds up in the street lying there. lifeless. I mean, he looks dead, and he's lifeless in the street. There's cars coming, there's cars honking, uh, and his buddies, the bystanders, go out into the street and drag him by his feet out of the street and get him up on the sidewalk, and he's sitting there panting, he can't breathe. I mean, he looks, bloody, pulverized, really, and I'm scrolling on Twitter, and I scroll past that, I watch that, and I'm like, "Gosh, this is so sad." The next tweet, I'm not even kidding you, from JB Pritzker, he goes, "Chicago is truly the best big city, and there's no surprise why. We've got energy, spirit, and now we're honored to host the Chicago DNC convention. Let's show the nation how it's done, Chicago." That was his tweet yesterday. And for tweets like that, I think that this guy needs to be held for reckless endangerment, because when I read tweets like that, if he puts out tweets like that, and I don't know anything about politics, I'm an apolitical person. I, don't follow channels that show me videos of what's actually going on in Chicago. I read JB's tweet, his propaganda, and I think, well, I'll go visit Chicago. It sounds like a nice place. I get there and I'm shot in the street. I'm pulverized in the street, lying there lifeless. This guy needs to be held accountable for the propaganda he is pushing out there, because people are going to believe him. They're going to go to Chicago. They're going to wind up dead. I've got that story coming up in just a little bit. Talking about Pritzker, he is trying to take taxpayer money and he's dedicating it towards the CCP backed company Goshen. Darren LaHood actually uh, responded to Governor J.B. Pritzker doing this. So I've got a statement from him that he gave to wirepoints.org. So we're going to unpack that. But first, I've been wanting to get to this all morning. We're going to get to it. So Kevin McCarthy, he's not going to stand for speaker a second time. Now, there was a very contentious 16-time vote to gain that speakership back in January. And yesterday, he was ousted by his own party. And the former speaker will be making a closed door announcement with fellow Republicans in the House later today. He's expected to make some sort of announcement today, so I'm going to be watching for that. But Matt Gaetz, he was the guy who brought forward this motion to vacate the Speaker's chair on Monday night. Now, there was a vote held yesterday in the House, during which a counter motion was brought forward by an Oklahoma representative, and they wanted to table it. They did not want to vacate that speaker, this Oklahoma resident or representative. And the vote to table didn't pass, so they had to vote on whether or not to vacate Kevin McCarthy. So that all took place. Now, Gaetz said that his main concern was the funding for Ukraine. Now, this continuing resolution bill, it passed. They, I think, passed something that kept the government open until November 21st. They kind of kicked the ball down the field kind of thing. They passed a measure on Friday that would keep the government open. It was a 45-day stopgap. While no funds were included in the 45-day stopgap, Gaetz alleges that there was a secret deal being made, which was created by President Joe Biden, and McCarthy said that Ukraine funding would be authorized. Okay, so there was a deal being made between President Joe Biden's administration and Kevin McCarthy, and they were coming to a deal where that Ukraine funding was going to get through. It's kind of funny because now we see Congressman Mike Bost, we see other congressmen saying, "Yeah, we got to stop the funding in Ukraine." It's really hilarious to see Republicans now coming out and saying that the funding for Ukraine has got to stop after they've voted several times for what's called supplement aid packages. There's like $3 billion here, $3 billion there, $3 billion here, and they vote, yay, 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 yay. They go, yes, 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 yes. We're going to vote to send all this money to Ukraine. Now they're upset about it, though, especially the ones who are running for election. Mike Bost is running for re-election, and he has an opponent that's Darren Bailey, and Darren Bailey is trying to keep him accountable. But yeah, so Gaetz, he was informed that there was this secret deal being made where Ukraine funding was going to get authorized, and that Joe Biden's administration didn't have to worry about all of that. That money laundering, he needs it. Joe Biden needs that money laundering, that money to go to Ukraine. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene says something here that I kind of agree with. I'm worried here about this speakership vacancy. Okay. She goes, I agree that we need a serious change. Yes. Um, but there's no plan. There's no one capable of even stepping up. Last time the Freedom Caucus threw out a speaker, we ended up with Paul Ryan, who did not support President Trump's agenda. Nothing can truly change until Trump is back in the White House, rightfully so. Um, and McCarthy believed he would be removed during the lengthy series of votes in January that gained him the chair. Many other names were proposed, such as Byron Donalds. A Hill staffer says that Byron Donalds is looking to run for this speakership. Jim Jordan and even Donald Trump's name was thrown out there back in January, if you remember. Donald Trump was proposed by Matt Gaetz. Wouldn't that be something? I would love to see that happen and have Donald Trump become the House Speaker, but none of them had the votes. Now, it's unclear if the Democrat Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, his name was out there, of Brooklyn, will be proposed by Democrats, though they didn't have the votes back in January for Hakeem. I don't know if they're going to have the votes for Hakeem this go around. Byron Donalds probably won't have the votes this go around. Maybe Jim Jordan, maybe. I don't know. And I'm worried, and Miller's worried too. Mary Miller. So she said that she voted against McCarthy 15 times in January. McCarthy, a rhino. Okay. Now, I do agree that he did some great things like this impeachment inquiry. Now, some could argue that the impeachment inquiry, and I do believe this too, the impeachment inquiry happened way too late, and that we should have got that impeachment inquiry way, way earlier, a couple of years. It should have been right as he got into office. We should have been impeaching Joe Biden and at least getting an impeachment inquiry going. But now, 2 years late, too late, there's an impeachment inquiry. But Mary Miller says that she voted against McCarthy 15 times in January, but she refused to join the Democrats yesterday, and she said that this would end the Biden impeachment inquiry because, Kevin McCarthy's behind that impeachment inquiry. If he's gone, and there's no telling if there's going to be a Republican speaker. I mean, who knows? Maybe Hakeem Jeffries will get in. I'm worried about it. I'm not sure if Matt Gaetz can whip the votes for somebody who's a conservative. I don't think that that's going to happen. Now, if Kevin McCarthy was doing this secret deal, and if there's truth to that, then yeah, there was nothing you could do. He had to be ousted. If he's doing a secret deal behind the backs of all the Republicans in the House with President Joe Biden, who, among all things, is under inquiry for impeachment, and you're working out a secret deal with the Biden administration, come on, Kevin. Come on. Now, I don't know if there's truth to that, but Matt Gaetz, he alleged that that was going on, and he needed to be ousted for that. Okay. Uh, so I have no idea. I would love to see a Byron Donalds in there. Who would you like to see fill the speakership? Maybe even Donald Trump. I don't know if that could happen, but uh, Matt Gaetz might propose Donald Trump again. Who knows? He suggested Donald Trump um, be the speaker in January of this year when the speakership vote was held. Okay, do want to shift gears. Let's talk about leftists. Okay, so there's a video that has emerged of this incident, and it shows this couple. And it was really hard for me to watch this morning, but this couple was sitting on a bench um, on a sidewalk when a man walks past them in a black hoodie. Okay, now the man crosses the street, walks about a half a block down from this bench where the couple is sitting. Okay, and now this man in the black hoodie starts to knock down scooters. He starts to yell profanities. You can hear him in the video a little bit. The couple gets up from the bench and then they walk in the same direction as the man in the black hoodie and he turns around and actually starts to approach the couple. Okay, now the couple continue walking towards the guy. And I'm just describing this video for you, and I'll show you the video here on the live stream, Twitter and Rumble. You can join me there always. Um, it's quite incredible. This leftist New York activist being stabbed to death in the street. It's very disturbing footage. So full disclosure, if you're going to watch it on the stream, this is not safe for children. So if kids are watching, you need to get them out of the room. If they're watching via the stream, this is an uncensored video. Okay, so we're going to play that on the stream. I'm going to continue to talk about it here. on the buzz. But yeah, so you can see this guy in the black hoodie. He's acting very disorderly. The guy's name is Ryan Carson. He's 32 years old. And in the video, you can see that he is stabbed after this confrontation. So Carson puts his hands on him and tries to relax the tension between the guy in the black hoodie. He's a stranger, and him. Um, the man gets closer to him. Carson pushes him off. There's surveillance footage, cuts after the stabbing. So um, you can see that it goes to black after the stabbing. But Carson is on the ground, and his girlfriend is standing by him. The attacker makes a motion towards her as well before moving off. So she doesn't get stabbed at all. It almost appears in the video. Now, I'm not sure if this happened. It looks like the attacker, the stabber, spits on the girl, like actually like spits on her. I don't know. That's just what I see, but he makes some sort of motion towards her, and I think that this motion is actually spitting on her. Um, Now, Carson, the man, was rushed to the hospital, a nearby hospital, and he did not make it. He succumbed to his injuries. Now, this Brooklyn guy, he's a Brooklyn guy. This all happened in Brooklyn. He has this Antifa girlfriend. That's the girlfriend, and she's just watching him get stabbed to death. Okay, so I mean, I understand that she doesn't want to, apprehend the guy, and I don't think that she could. This is a very big guy, but she doesn't do anything. She just sits there and watches. She doesn't even really react, and seemed to not understand what was happening. That's if I had to describe the girlfriend's reaction to this, it looks like she doesn't know what's happening until she saw the blood actually oozing out of him. And then she bends down and she like asks or like tries to see if he's okay. But then get this, the girlfriend, the Antifa girlfriend of this far left activist, his name's Ryan Carson, the Antifa girlfriend wouldn't even describe the suspect to the cops. The suspect has yet to be identified. He's still at large. Witnesses reported that he was acting very erratically prior to carrying out this murder, pushing over scooters, causing a scene, yelling. Now, who is Ryan Carson? Well, he's a far left activist. He was a senior solid waste campaign manager or campaign director at a nonprofit organization. It's called the New York Public Interest Research Group. Okay, so he was actually an advocate for safe injection sites. That's what a lot of his work and his activism was focused on. He says, I'm passionate about safe injection at facilities because I've seen family members become addicted to opioids prescribed for pain caused by their occupations. He said in 2021, I've lost friends and family to the opioid epidemic, including my best friend who died from a heroin overdose in 2016. So, what is a safe injection facility? Well, this is a medically supervised injection room where people go to get doped up, and they depend on drugs for survival. So they are in a supervised kind of health setting. They go get high on government on taxpayer dime. Okay, these are a lot of the times backed by taxpayer dollars. This is a very radical idea that we are going to incentivize and pay for these facilities to pop up all around the country. Even like leftist Democrats, a lot of leftist Democrats don't agree with this because they see the problem here, right? Incentivizing via taxpayer dollars and paying for things via taxpayer dollars for people to go get high because they're health dependent on it. These are safe injection facilities. This is how he thinks that the opioid crisis will end, is if we open up these safe injection facilities. Um, Tributes for Carson quickly poured on social media. I poured from all across the activist community. One woman from his nonprofit organization, she goes, our team was devastated to hear of Ryan Carson's passing today. Ryan was a dedicated environmental advocate who worked tirelessly to protect our communities and ecosystems from the climate crisis. So he was a green weenie. I send my condolences to all of his family and his loved ones. Look, I've told you before, and this has been the theme this week. I told you a little bit about Josh Kruger yesterday. He was a far left activist. He was gunned down in the street at 1 a.m. Josh Kruger, he was the one who just downplayed violent crime all of the time. And he made fun of people who were concerned about violent crime and the increasing violent crime that comes with progressive policies. So he was gunned down. He died. He was a far left activist, a journalist, actually. And now this guy dies. I mean, I think there's been like 6 prominent leftists that have been robbed or killed this week. And look, this urban crime policy is the reason why this kind of stuff happens here in Springfield, Illinois. I'm going to continue to bring it up. Emma Schaefer. Emma Schaefer was a far left activist. She worked on the immigration project here in Springfield, Illinois. I'm assuming she met her far left activist boyfriend, Gabriel Calixto, through some sort of activism group. Um, Now we can see that Gabriel Calixto is pictured with Dick Durbin at a campaign event. He was pictured with Dick. Dick has yet to comment on Gabriel Calixto's whereabouts. I believe he's still at large. I've tried to contact the Springfield police. They don't let me know where he's at. From what I understand, he's not in custody. So I believe he's still at large, but he stabbed his ex girlfriend, Emma Schaefer, to death. She died. And what these activists and these far left guys, that what they don't understand is that their own policies are killing them. And then they almost have these blinders on where they think that violent crime doesn't happen. And in this case, we have Ryan Carson walking up to a guy who's disorderly and trying to de-escalate this. What's wrong with you? Have you not heard what's going on around the country, that people are dying? You just walked up to him? It's probably because people like JB push out propaganda and they say that it's totally fine, everything's fine. All right, I've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, I do have to tell you a little bit about JB. He needs to answer some legitimate questions Illinois residents have about their taxpayer dollars going to this CCP-backed company called Goshen. Congressman Darren LaHood, he has released a statement about this. So we're going to talk about the Goshen company here next on the Buzz. Hey, folks, if you're watching, go ahead and smash that like button. Smash that like button. Um, yeah, just completely tragic what's happening to leftists around the country. They're dying because of their own policies. And it's happening everywhere. It's happened here in Springfield. It's happening in New York. I think it was Philadelphia, the one where Josh Kruger, the far left journalist, who completely downplayed violent crime. And I can't blame them a lot of the time because what these people have been fed, it's so sickening. When you have the governor of the state of Illinois tweeting that Chicago is the best place in the world. I mean, that level of bullshit, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna use some language. That level of bullshit is sick. And to be frank with you, he needs to be behind bars for pushing this propaganda out and manipulating people into believing that there's no issue here, that there's no issue in Chicago, that there's no issue of people dying in Chicago. Because what's going to wind up happening, some low information voter is going to see that tweet. They're going to listen to JB at one of his speaking arrangements, um, with his, Jerry Springer check or whatever, where he comes out with this big old check and he gives it to, whatever company or whatever organization of that day. And he's going to say that, yeah, Chicago's the best city. And they're going to believe him. They're going to go to Chicago and they're going to be in for a rude awakening when they find out that it's likely that they die or get hurt if they are in the streets of Chicago. This was during the daytime where I watched somebody get pulverized in the street of Chicago, and his buddies had to drag him out of the street because he was laying there almost lifeless in the street. Um, Now, I love this. Scoot, we're going to get to your very, very busy comments here. Scoot, transgender people should be able to use any bathroom they want. Uh, Scoot, you know, one, you're anonymous. You don't even use your real name, which is hilarious. Scoot, is that your name? And I love how you use this like weird picture thing. uh, I love how leftists are always anonymous. They never actually tell you who they are because they don't want to stand and use their face behind the things that they believe because they know it's a screwed up thing. Transgender people should use any bathroom that they want. No, and here's the reason why. Imagine, and I highly doubt that you have children, so, just try to picture, this for me, okay? You're a father, your daughter goes into the bathroom. She's raped by a man in that bathroom, because a man is allowed to go into that bathroom because there's a transgender policy in place that allows it. Are you for transgenders being in are you for men being in women's safe spaces? Let me ask you that. Are you for men being in women's safe spaces? Because I'm not. I'm not for men being in women's safe spaces where they get naked and where they change and, where they take their pants off to use the restroom. I'm not for that. Imagine a 9-year-old girl is in a bathroom, and then a grown man, 44 years old, complete with a penis, comes in and he rapes her. Are you still for transgender policies? LGBTQ people are not pedos and groomers, blah, 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 blah. Um, Thought about going back and counting the number of times she said Walmart was racist. Yeah, we're gonna be getting to that story. I watched the Screaming Women Women video. We're gonna get to that next here, Darren. You're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me, Darren. There is a woman in Walmart and she's screaming, "Walmart is racist, Walmart is racist." And you're right. I think that she says it about 100 times. This is actually hilarious, this video, because this cop approaches her very nice. You can see it in the video how nice he is. He's approached her and he's questioning her, I believe, on stealing. I think that she was accused of stealing. This is why the cop approached her in the first place. And he asked her probably if she paid for something. And she goes, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did." And she's like losing her mind. And he goes, "Okay, okay." He goes, "Calm down." And she starts it all, okay? She starts grabbing soda pops from the aisles and she starts throwing things at this cop. To which then the cop says, "That's it. Enough's enough. I'm going to apprehend you and arrest you. You're assaulting a police officer. You're throwing things at me." So he approaches her, tries to apprehend her, tries to get her to relax. Then she punches him in the face. You can hear it in the video. She slaps him, and knocks his glasses off. So then he brings her down to the ground. It didn't even really bring her down to the ground. This woman can barely walk. She was in a scooter. She's quite large, plus sized, some might say. And she gets out of the scooter and which is kind of funny because I don't think she really needed the scooter. I think she's just fat and lazy and just wanted to ride around in the store. Uh, but she gets out of her scooter and she starts, throwing things at the cop. And, I think that I think she falls to the ground. I think she throws herself onto the ground. Now, the police reaction to this is what's really disturbing because they're trying to say that she didn't steal anything, that this wasn't an issue of stealing, and that it was just a mental health issue. No, this isn't a mental health issue. Mental health is far different from this. She is a whiny baby, and she's crying, screaming, and she thinks the world revolves around her, and she's screaming racism because she's an entitled loser, really. That's what this is. She's an entitled loser who stole something, and she was caught, and she's throwing a baby fit. That's different from mental health. Uh, let's talk about it here on the bus. See me live in the studio. That's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Yes, we are going to be getting to Governor J.B. Pritzker. He needs to answer legitimate questions about this Illinois Goshen. It's a Chinese company, a communist company. They're trying to create this lithium battery factory. And he needs to answer about, taxpayer dollars going towards this CCP-backed company and how much of this taxpayer money is going towards the CCP-backed company. So it's going to cost $2 billion to build this factory, but yet they're getting $8 billion in federal grants and like what is it, 500 million in state grants. And JB Pritzker needs to answer, why are we giving them state money if they're already getting like $8 billion in federal money? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. They're getting $8 billion in total for a $2 billion facility. What? So indeed, Pritzker needs to answer. So far, Pritzker has refused to answer any questions whatsoever about the project. Instead, he resorts to insults and he's calling people within the state Senate who are pushing up against this. State senators, they've said, look, we don't want taxpayer money um, lining the pockets of CCP companies. And I've shared this story with you multiple times. I'm going to continue to share this story. There's high rises. I mean, these big, big buildings, corporate high rises in China, communist China, and they force people to work. It is not a 9 to 5. You don't get to choose where you work. You are forced to work somewhere for the CCP. You don't get to even choose how many children you get to have. You don't get to choose what to eat. Uh, but these people, they're forced to work in these corporate high rises, and they hate their lives so much that they want to jump out of the building, like quite literally jump from this high rise, this skyscraper, right? They are jumping out of the windows. And what the CCP has done is build suicide nets around these these buildings, so that way people don't die when they decide to kill themselves because they're so sick of living in CCP China, the communist China. They're so sick of it that they want to kill themselves at work. They jump out. They can't even do that. China won't even let them do that because they've put suicide nets around these companies. Now, I don't know if Goshen has a headquarters there in China, but companies like them, companies like them, definitely do the suicide net thing. So, do we really want that here in America? Do we want a company like that here in America? No, 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 no. But Pritzker needs to answer about the $8 billion of taxpayer money being given to the CCP-backed company. They're planning to erect this electric vehicle battery plant in Manteno, Illinois. So we're going to get to that here. Darren LaHood actually responding. But first, I want to talk about this woman screaming in Walmart because it's kind of funny. So this woman, she's screaming in Walmart. There's a video of a woman in a Walmart in New York. So it's circulating social media after footage showed her slapping a state trooper who proceeded to pin her to the ground while she cried, "Walmart is racist. Walmart is racist." She says it about 100 times in the video, and I'm going to play the video here in a minute. But in the video, you can see the woman who's in a motorized scooter, the ones that you get at Walmart, and she's seen arguing with the officer. So you can watch this in the video. It's unclear what was said to her, but she says, screams back and she goes, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did," over and over again. Now, however, I don't know if she was stealing, but I think that's what was going on. We're going to get to that and the police response and what they said this was the thing that she had nothing to do with. I think was stealing. She says, "I had nothing to do with that." She goes, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did." I'm assuming that she stole something and the officer was questioning whether or not she paid for that thing. And she was screaming, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, I did." Um, I have no idea. The police are denying that. However, I think that this is something that was happening. All of the signs lead to that. She proceeds to encourage him to drag her out of the store. Someone should have told this woman to be careful about what she wished for because the officer made good on her request. She goes, "Drag me out of here, drag me out of here, drag me out of here." And that's exactly what he did. So before he did but he didn't go after her while she was screaming or anything. He was trying to de escalate the situation. It's when she began throwing merchandise at him, a bottle of soda, a plastic bag of Lay's potato chips, and then she emerges from her motorized scooter, and then she starts rummaging her way through the aisle, and she, slams into the aisle there and different shelves. She's knocking merchandise off of the shelves. It's really chaotic scene, but the officer tries to restrain her at that point after she throws a soda bottle at him. So he tries to restrain her. She subsequently shoves him in the face. It's kind of interesting. It kind of makes a slapping noise. So it was kind of like a slap to the face. And then she rips off his glasses. So the officer attempts to contain this erratic woman. She's dangerous at this point. She's throwing things. Okay. She's a danger to not only herself, but others. So he has no choice but to restrain this woman and pin her to the ground. I personally think that, and according to this video, you let me know if you're going to watch it on the stream here. You can see it. You let me know what you see. I think that she falls to the ground. You can kind of see that she falls to the ground. There's multiple videos here. I think she falls. She's a very heavy woman, very heavy, and she gets up out of the scooter and she has a hard time kind of even like keeping herself up. Although she can walk perfectly fine. She has a hard time keeping herself up. I think she throws herself to the ground in this video. But you tell me. Here's what it all sounded like, and in this Walmart at this store. Here we go.
Walmart is racist! 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 Walmart is racist!
She starts screaming. Oh my lord. Oh, that is something else. But no, her shoe falls off in the process. She starts screaming, screw you, white trash, except she doesn't say screw you. She says very explicit language. But Walmart, the racist one in this situation? I don't think so. The lack of self awareness in this situation says a lot. Okay. The New York State Police told the national desk the incident happened after a 911 call was placed from the store, and police said that there was an incident. And that this incident did not involve shoplifting and that the woman was actually experiencing a mental health issue. So there were people in the store that were worried about this woman, obviously. And then the police came and, yeah, so she was reportedly taken to a local hospital after the scuffle. They took her to the hospital, but I think they should have taken her to a priest. Uh, I think that would have been a better option because by the way she was acting there, I mean, an exorcism might have been more appropriate in this situation, if you ask me. I don't know if the hospital was the best place to bring her. I think an exorcism probably would have been more appropriate, but the level of entitlement in this country is getting out of hand because she screams racism, racism. She's never going to be held accountable for this debacle. She assaulted a police officer. She threw soda bottles at him and slapped him in the face, ripped off his glasses. And I guarantee you that this video is going to be taken out of context. They're going to take a small portion of this clip. They're going to play it on CNN. I'm calling it right now. I'm predicting the news here. CNN's going to grab this clip. They're going to play that small little clip of her being apprehended. Although they're not going to play what led up to that. Okay, it's insane. And I'm sorry, but we all know who the real racist trash was in this situation, and it wasn't the Walmart people. It wasn't the cop. Okay, she was being racist. She called him white trash. That's racism. Okay, and look, um, from the footage circulating online, it also does not look like she needed that scooter, and somebody needs to address that with her. You should only use that scooter if you're handicapped. You don't get the scooter if you're just fat and lazy and you don't want to walk around the store. Okay, if you don't want to walk around the store, then don't go into the store. You leave the scooters for the handicapped people. Okay, for the people who actually need them. We're gonna be back talking a little bit about the CCP. Dave Paul Blumenshine joining me next. Very excited to have him in studio. He's been joining me for Scott's Take. Scott is out. We're waiting on equipment for him. He should be getting his equipment here by the end of the week. But Scott's Takes will resume after this week, hopefully sometime. It happens around 7:30, 7:40 every single weekday. So we'll be back on the other side. Catch me on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Walmart is racist. Walmart is racist. Her shoe falls off in the process of her being contained. She's a very erratic woman. And this officer tries to pin her to the ground, and she starts screaming, "Walmart is racist," repeatedly. I think she said it about 100 times. David Paul Blumenshine right over there, joining me here on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. How
Good
are you?
morning, Kat. Well, all is well. All is well. I think we're moving in a positive direction now that we finally have the people being represented in Washington, D.C. I wish that were the same in Springfield. Uh, Obviously, it's comments like J.B. Pritzker in the inflammatory comments where he says that the Republicans are grandstanding over this issue of this battery plant. And really, JB, no, see, you folks love, and I mean folks, when I'm saying folks, I mean the Dems. The Dems are destroying America and intentionally destroying America. Go out and get Mark Levin's book, Democrats Hate America, because they do. He makes these statements knowing that he can incite rage amongst the people.
Well,
And
I wanna show you this. I'm gonna pass my phone over to you,
no,
David.
yeah, I read this morning. You know, the best city. 500,000 people were surveyed, mostly liberal dwellers in the city liberal dwellers, and some of these folks even say, "Oh, I've never experienced crime." I was literally reading the comments. Generations of people, we've never experienced crimes. Now, they don't tell you that they live in the most well-protected, secure places.
And that they have security officers.
I can go to Haiti and go behind gated walls and never experience crime in Haiti, even though it's one of the most corrupt little countries in the world per share of ratio of people. I mean, yeah, no one's questioning that there aren't safe spaces in Chicago. Now, I would challenge you to go to the west side of Chicago to one of those Friday night football games. Oh, that's right. They don't do them on Friday nights. Only in the day. And there's a reason for that.
In the day. Yes. Well, and what was incredible about that tweet where JB says that Chicago is the best city in the country.
And you know what? That's a sad statement, JB, if that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sad statement. That tells you, and unfortunately, JB, we read the accounts of what's going on in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, and right before I read that tweet, I watched a video of a man being pulverized in the street, and this wasn't this was in the Loop.
Yeah.
I mean, I recognized it. I was like, "Whoa, this is like by what is it? The Lake Avenue or whatever there?
Michigan Avenue.
Michigan Avenue.
Or Lakeshore Drive.
Lakeshore Drive.
I'm sorry.
It was right around there, and this guy was pulverized in the street. He was lifeless in the street. His buddies came and dragged him by the feet out of the street after cars were honking because he was sitting there bleeding in the street. I mean, this was truly the most disturbing scene I think I've ever watched in my lifetime. I've seen some pretty crazy things, nothing quite like that. And I scroll a little bit down, just like the next tweet is JB's. I think that this guy, he needs to be held accountable for his propaganda because people are going to start to believe this propaganda and they're going to put themselves in really terrible situations and go to Chicago and find themselves wound up dead.
Yeah. Kat, I wish it were that easy. It's not going to be. Unfortunately, these folks can say whatever they want and not have any accountability. Folks, you know this, I know this, and if you're listening to us here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington, Normal, and beyond, or joining us on Facebook or Twitter or Rumble or YouTube, you know this. I mean, this stuff is, I love just the facts. JB was not endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. That should tell you everything you need to know. When law enforcement won't even support our governor. Now, you had the firefighters came out and supported him, and a bunch of other labor unions and AFSCME and all of the public unions who are still finding themselves reeling because we're running out of money. And they can't shift it. There's a reason JB's begging Joe Biden for more bailout money. I mean, these are just the facts. I mean, I love DC Drano, just so we're clear. Obama is controlling Biden. Pelosi was controlling McCarthy. Yeah. I truly believe that. because these people are not on our side. They game the system. The DOJ is controlling Trump's indictments. FBI is controlling big tech censorship. Zelensky is controlling foreign aid. Big Pharma is controlling media. CIA is controlling our elections, and BlackRock is controlling all of the above. We were talking yesterday about this sudden increase or the sudden need for housing in McLean County, 9,000 units. Where'd that come from?
Well, and I found out that the town of Normal did actually sign on to some sort of proposal that makes them a so-called smart city.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that I didn't even know that Normal said, yeah, we're going to become a smart
Well,
city.
Chris Coos, Mayor Coos, and the contingent have been going out and participating, Kathleen Lorenz, in these events of building better cities or smart cities or whatever it is. And this is sheer madness. You know, we don't have control of our debt problems. You know, now some places do it better because they've been able to fleece the people and lie to them better than others, like JB, just constant lying.
Constant lying. Well, we're going to get to some of that constant lying because JB, he's sitting there saying that this CCP-backed Goshen company is the best thing since sliced bread.
The guy from the World Economic Forum stage, JB Pritzker.
JB Pritzker, the globalist.
Klaus Schwab.
We're going to talk about it on the other side, David Paul and I, and then a little bit later we're going to be joined by Phil Nagel. He's running for Illinois Senate.
Yes, he is.
And I'm very excited to talk with him. He's in the 40th district. That's next on the Morning Buzz. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We're going to be getting to Phil Nagel. Right over there is David Paul Blumenshine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Phil Nagel joining us, Illinois Senate
Nagel.
District 40.
I like Phil.
I do too. I'm very excited for his run. It's right there in my hometown, so it's a little close to my heart. But Patrick Joyce, it's a family seat. So his dad served in there. For 20 plus years. Then he gave it to his wife for a few years. And I think there was somebody in between, but then ultimately it went back to
make me an offer I can't refuse. Yeah. It's historical, the nepotism, the criminality. I mean, I get it, Kat. It's nice to never have to really work a day in your life and enjoy vacations, whenever you want to go. In fact, you can even go on vacation during a mandated lockdown that you put in force as you and your family travel to Florida.
JB.
I mean, it's a joke. I mean, this is laughable. The thing is the internet and social media have allowed us to expose this. Trump really is the one who has exposed this. I find it fascinating. Trump likes to golf. He likes nice things. There's no question about it. But he's at least honest about where those things come from. Oh, he committed fraud, lying. No, all the banks were repaid. His properties are worth 100 times more than what the judge thinks. So
we're going to be back, folks, in just a second. Hold on. Morning. It's the 8 o'clock hour. I'm so excited to talk with Phil Nagel. He's running for Senate, and we've got to talk about the Goshen CCP-backed company. There was a protest earlier this week. Phil Nagel was there, and I want to get his account. David Paul Blumenshine will join me on the other side. We're also going to talk a little bit about this plus-size influencer calling for hotels to actually widen their the hallways in the hotels. Yes, actually, that's happening. That's next. No, folks, it's not Meatball. It's not Meatball who is the influencer. This is Jay Lynn is her name.
Everybody needs to eat.
Everybody needs to eat, especially
more food, more chicken.
More chicken. It's wild. I can't wait to get your reaction to this story. It's wild. But we're gonna bring on Phil here, and let's talk with him. Hello, hello. Phil Nagel, are you there?
I am. What's up, Kat?
Awesome. I hear you loud and clear. Folks, you are listening to Cities 92.9 via the live stream. We're joined by Phil Nagel, David Paul Blumenshine, and myself. Phil, have you met David before?
I have not, I don't believe. We
That's
have?
Bill, that's not a good political answer.
Oh, yeah.
Bill, you got to go there. Hey, Phil, the rally last year for Bailey, I came up.
Gotcha.
Oh, you remember we did that out in that parking lot? I think you helped coordinate that event.
I do remember now.
Yeah, that was me. That's
Mhm.
all right.
You know, I'm not going to live this down, am I?
What's that?
I'm not going to live this down, am I?
Well, it's not that you're not going to live it down, because my wife would tell you that you're going up against somebody that's uncanny. God gave me this thing that, like, I see something, and it's not like that show where the guy got the daily news a day before, but it's pretty close to that. It's kind of freaky. If you talk to anybody that knows me, they'll say, "My gosh, how do you remember those things?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know."
I know. I was shocked. There was actually somebody where I was like, David Paul, do you know this person's name? And then he goes, actually, I don't know. I can't remember her name. And I'm like, oh, David, you're supposed to have the superpower where you remember people's names. But he could not. And that was the first time ever where he couldn't remember a name. But Phil, I'm very excited to have you on. I also want to touch the Patrick Joyce thing again. I want to hit that again where that's a family seat. And it was passed down via generations. And then we'll talk about Goshen and overall your thoughts about the protest, the rally. What do you think? Do you think that Goshen is going to go there and be erected in Manteno, Illinois?
So if the governor, Senator Joyce, the mayor, Nugent, if they get their way, then absolutely it will go in. I do believe that the public persuasion and public perception and overall the people fighting back will definitely stump their ability to put Goshen in Manteno. We did hire a law firm as well. We're not going down without a fight. And ultimately, just like in South Dakota and Michigan, where this law firm was successful at stumping Goshen from setting up shop, I think we will be successful in Manteno as well.
That's exact. And I want to talk about the lawsuit. We're going to be back here in just a little bit for our radio friends. I want to talk about the lawsuit. Is it the same attorney that you're using or that is being used in Michigan? I think it's the Great Cedar or something Rapids.
It's under the Ford plant there too. It's under the guise of the Ford plant, right? So it is the same law firm. So these folks are very versed in what it's going to take to challenge this company.
Wonderful. And one thing that I also wanted to ask was, the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Do you think that, them showing up to the press conference and is that really going to help out the Manteno residents?
I think more or less what you're looking for with the Freedom Caucus, they are the only ones that are really taking a hardline position on standing against this company coming in. I think that we need to continue to rally, get stronger. And we had, I believe it was quoted or estimated around 400 people at that rally a day or two ago. And it's being noticed. It's being noticed around the country right now. And this is exactly what we need. I mean, for instance, I just came into the bylaws for Goshen, and this will shock you, Kat. I just put it out there last night. Chapter 1, Article 9 of Goshen's own bylaws reads, the company shall set up a party organization and carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the Communist Party of China. The company shall ensure necessary conditions for carrying out party activities. The secretary of the party committee shall be the chairman. It's right in our face, right? They're just shoving it in our face right now, and they're just laughing at us. But it's not going to work this time. We are fighting back on this plant, and I do think we'll be victorious.
Wonderful. We're going to come back for our radio friends, and we'll dive in deeper. You guys are listening to the Morning Buzz. Smash the like button if you're watching. Hang on just 1 second, Phil. patriotic student walkout happens, and this school district is forced to vote that male students can't use the girls' bathroom anymore. See, eh, actually speaking out and stepping up works a lot of the time. And it worked in this specific case where these students, hundreds of students, said, enough's enough. We don't want men in female spaces,
Yeah.
and we're going to say no. And now the school board was forced to implement a policy where students have to use the bathroom according that aligns with their biological sex. Something that used to be common sense, but no, is now needed to be explicitly said via a policy that's voted on by the school board. So we're going to get to that here in just about 15 minutes. But first, bringing on Phil Nagel. He's running for the Illinois Senate District 40 as a Republican against Patrick Joyce. He was actually at a protest, and David and I, David Paul Blumenshine and I, are going to ask him some questions about that protest. That was like a rally, I guess, and the Illinois Freedom Caucus went down. Brad Holbrook, Blaine Wilhauer. These are really good guys in Springfield. There's only a few of them.
Dan Collins.
Dan Collins. There's only a few.
I don't know if Chris Miller was there. Jed Davis.
Miller
I mean, they've got a good little contingency. About 10% of the state representatives in Springfield are part of the Illinois Freedom Caucus. That doesn't take a big number because there's not very many Republicans in the House in Springfield.
And Phil, if he gets in, I think he's going to be a part of the Illinois.
Phil will do great. Phil eventually will get there. It's going to take a lot of work. Unfortunately, Phil will be a much older man, maybe.
Wait. I'm sitting right here.
You got to go election cycle after election cycle to beat back what's happening. And you've got to sue the governor. You constantly have to take this man to court to win your rights, to enforce the Constitution. Kat, you remember the story back in July of 2020 in the courtroom down in Clay County? J.B. Pritzker's attorney showed up there, and his argument for maintaining the executive orders was that the current crisis of COVID was similar to nuclear war. He said that in a courtroom. And of course, the gallery laughed, and he got all upset because it is laughable, because they say whatever they want, and they try to parlay this into craziness. You know, Phil, bless his heart. You know, I love this Article 9. You know, right there in the bylaws of Goshen.
Let's have Phil read it. Phil Nagel, thanks so much for joining me here on the Morning Buzz. Article 9, tell me about it, and tell me about this Goshen rally that you were at, the protest.
Yeah, so Goshen rally, it was in Manteno. We had about 400 people or so show up, the Illinois Freedom Caucus, U.S. Ambassador, some other really good folks that all, you know, can realize the geopolitical risks, the national security risks associated with bringing in Goshen, essentially 30 miles north or south from one of two different military installations, which is very concerning. But when you dive into it, you don't even have to look very hard, right? So Goshen's bylaws in Chapter 1, Article 9, they actually tell you what they're doing. And so if it would be a very poor decision making if we were able to see this information, which we have, and still proceed with it. But we have legislators and politicians that I'm sure are getting something out of this deal. But I'll go ahead and read the Article 9 real quick. And again, I posted it on my Facebook page as well, the entire document for their bylaws. But Article 9 states that the company shall be a party organization and carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the Communist Party of China. The company shall ensure necessary conditions for carrying out party activities, and the secretary of the party committee shall be the chairman. So they're telling us what they're going to do right there. And we'd be naive to believe that they would be doing anything other than that. So really think about this, right? It's a $2 billion plan, right? That's what the Goshen's investing in Manteno, right? $2 billion to create this plant. They are actually getting $8 billion in tax subsidies between the state and the federal government. And this one really will blow your mind. So my oldest son, he actually commissions in the United States Army as a second lieutenant tonight, right? And should he be called to defend this country against our number one geopolitical adversary, there is a high probability that army will be funded by the United States government, and that being you, me, and the taxpayers of the United States. So we're actually funding our geopolitical rival, and our sons, our daughters, our moms and dads are the ones that are going to have to step up and defend this country should it come to that. I mean, just really take a minute to think about that. And this is what the Democrats are pushing in this country.
Yeah, well, and that was in their own bylaws. So it's not even CCP backed. That isn't even accurate. It's not an accurate statement. They are the CCP because their number one rule, right, is to follow the constitution of the Communist China part or the Chinese Communist Party.
They cannot operate outside of the Communist Chinese Party. It states that in their bylaws. Thank you for sharing that. I did put it up on our Facebook page. I shared your post, Phil. I hope I could do that. I shared it without your permission.
Oh man, social media.
Yeah,
and we shared your pictures of you out at the protest. So you said there were near 400 people there. Was there anybody for the Goshen plant there counter protesting?
There were not, and nor in normal circumstances, that would be it does kind of shock me. But this plant is hated by Democrats, by Republicans, by everyone, because obviously the people that are getting paid to, or whoever making the decisions to bring it in, they did this in secrecy, right? They did this through Springfield. No one's seen it coming, right? There was no transparency. They didn't bring any, actually people in Manteno in. And now we find out about it when it goes to the city council meeting. And I think that's probably part of the issue as well. I think the people are very smart. We can make our own decisions, but we want the information, right? We don't want to be blindsided by something, especially when, so for instance, Patrick Joyce comes out and states, we're bringing in 2,600 great paying jobs. Okay. Well, you're also bringing in a CCP backed company. So what's that actually going to look like to the community? Where's the wastewater going to be going to? Where are the resources set in place? What's the infrastructure behind this? Are we going to have to expand our coal facilities? Battery factories don't just power themselves, right? Even though it's clean energy, we use fossil fuels and a lot of it to power this green technology. So there's a lot of questions.
And ComEd, I remember them coming out there and they were, pretty much grandstanding and saying, yeah, we're going to create like a substation and we're going to power this company ourselves and we're going to use all green energy. Baloney, you idiots. You can't power that company with green energy. Are you kidding me? And it's not clean energy. It's like you said, fossil fuels. But David.
Well, Phil, I don't know if you're aware of this or not. And this is just another instance in the line of so many things that we have to take the governor to court over. I was telling in the last segment, Governor Pritzker was not endorsed by the law enforcement of the state of Illinois for his run for governor. When he was fighting, or I should say, when he was defending himself against the lawsuit brought by Tom DeVore and Darren Bailey to, ask the question, can the governor continue to enforce mandate or executive orders and the lockdowns in Illinois in perpetuity, forever and ever and ever? And his attorney's defense was this. He said COVID was similar to nuclear war. This is the type of people we're dealing with. Goshen is just a symptom of the governor that we have in Illinois. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, and I applaud you for being willing to run to represent the people of your district, but we're always going to be behind the eight ball and until we continue to expose it. So kudos for you and everyone else that joined in on the rally, because it's the only way that we're going to expose these people for who they are. And it's going to take a long time because there's just so many loyalists to J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah. Not only just attending the protest, but they've got a lawsuit. So the people, the Manteno residents, they've got a lawsuit. And Phil, I wanted to ask you about that. This law firm, they already have some practice, right, with this sort of thing, because there's a CCP-backed company, I think it's Goshen as well. They've already tried this in Michigan. And the Michigan residents weren't very happy about it either. And they're suing up in Michigan. So this is the same law firm that's representing them up in Michigan. So they've already got some practice with this. What's this lawsuit look like for the Manteno residents? Are they going after the process of it being passed in the dead of night through the ICC, or is it going after, hey, our taxpayer dollars, the $8 billion? There's no justification for $8 billion when this costs for $2 billion. There's so many different things that I think that this lawsuit could have in it. Do you know the details? I know I should probably ask the law firm, but
yeah. So we're in the initial stages of retaining this law firm. We've met with them. We're currently in the process of putting together a strategy, right? So when we formulate that strategy, I will definitely come back on and kind of give you the inner layers of what that looked like. As far as Goshen, this law firm was able to shut down their attempt to set up shop in South Dakota. That one's already been done.
Defunct, yeah. Defunct.
Exactly. Now they're in Michigan. Now Michigan, it sounds like, and it's a a very fluid situation, obviously, but it appears to be won by the people of Michigan, and it's the company law firm looks like they've shut them out, so that's good. There's still a few things that are in the works in Michigan, but I think some of our strategy might mirror some of what they're doing up there. But I'll wait till we actually the law firm actually comes forward and put suit up, and then we'll talk about that.
Now, the Michigan facility, wasn't that part of Ford's initiative for their operations of their electric vehicles? Didn't Ford have something to do with the plant considering to locate where they were in Michigan?
Absolutely. Goshen was operating under the guise of Ford, right? And
Yes.
so that was how they were able to swing in there. Again, the people stood up. They made it so uncomfortable that they actually pushed them out. And what's really interesting is in Chicago Heights, there's a Ford plant that has laid off, I believe it was on the Capitol Facts, I want to say 330. They're striking right now. UAW is striking. Ford just laid off 330 employees at the Chicago Heights plants. So really think about this, right? They're shutting down our union auto workers, but they're giving $8 billion to a Chinese CCP-backed company to come build EVs. So, just wrap your head. How many people's lives have they just affected with this? Whereas if you're going to take $8 billion, you could subsidize everybody with that in this state. You could keep these auto workers in their jobs. But again, this is just, they're misplacing their priorities. And for whatever reason, J.B. Pritzker has made the business environment so politically toxic and, to be downright frank with you, dangerous in the state of Illinois, where he can't lure businesses to actually come to Illinois. So what's he do? As businesses leave, he backfills them with the CCP. So, this just...
Well, these 2,600 jobs, it's amazing because he says, I created so many jobs. Nobody's filling these jobs because the unemployment rate is still high. So you've created all of these jobs, but the unemployment rate is much higher than what it was back in 2022, just in every metropolitan area in the state of Illinois. So it's like
people aren't coming to Illinois to take those jobs.
Yes.
Who's suffering is the small mom and pop businesses because they don't have a workforce to obviously recruit from. Some of these folks that usually enter into the workforce through service businesses are going to work for, like here locally, Rivian. Young people out of high school are getting jobs with overtime that pay them $60,000 a year. Now, if you're going to get a job at Rivian getting $60,000 a year, or you're going to go to work for one of the restaurants or mom and pop organizations here in town and make, $20,000, which one are you going to choose, Phil? Which one are you going to choose? And it's just this exchange. It's not growth. It's not improving the economy. He's delirious. The governor, not you, Phil.
Another thing before we go, Phil, I wanted to make sure for our listening audience, are you xenophobic in any kind of way? Because I know that Governor J.B. Pritzker wrote a letter to some Illinois state senators and called them xenophobic because they were against the CCP moving in to Manteno. So I just want to make it clear for our listening audience, a xenophobe. Are you a xenophobe?
I am not, and I'll even take that one quick step further. During the campaign, there was many articles written about me that I was scared to talk to brown people. That's what the article actually said. I was scared to talk to brown people, and just to clear the record, my wife is Hispanic. My youngest son, I adopted him. His grandfather's from Mexico, so just wanted to clear the air on that one, just because it's hard to get a real story out here in this area.
They swing and miss. It's just like they're calling Mary Miller a fascist, and she has 2 son-in-laws who happen to be black. Wow, that's you're a Nazi. You're racist.
You're a Nazi.
Amazing, isn't it?
Oh, just
It's incredible.
We
Well,
just
Phil,
continue to keep up a good fight and be a warrior, because it's the only way we're going to win is convincing Democrats and independents that we're winning, because we're exposing them for who they are. They do things in the blind of night.
mhm.
They do.
Well,
Can I leave you with one more thing, Kat? One more really interesting note. Last night, and I don't know how true this is, I just seen it this morning. Matt Couch, I believe is his name on X, but he wrote just in temporary House Speaker Patrick McHenry, Republican from North Carolina, has ordered Nancy Pelosi to vacate her office.
Yes.
Speaker's office, she refused to leave, and McCarthy wouldn't make her leave by Wednesday. I don't know how true this is, but it's Pelosi really?
No, it is. It's true.
She has an office still?
Well, yeah,
Speaker's office.
The Speaker's office?
Yes,
Never moved in.
Speaker's office, and the Speaker in temp is asking her to vacate.
I'm weak.
And she goes, "This is terrible what they're doing to me."
I'm weak. This is wild. That just goes to show you how crazy
The clown show continues.
the clown show continues. Well, Phil, you have a great rest of your day. Good luck getting get rid of Patrick Joyce. He's a loser.
Absolutely.
Get him out of there. I'll talk to you later, Phil. Thanks so much for joining me.
See you later, Kat. Thanks for having me on.
All right, folks, we're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. Coming up, a patriotic student walkout results in the school district voting that male students can no longer use the girls' bathroom anymore. Way to go, kiddos. We're back next. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. I'm communist phobic and I'm socialist phobic. And these idiots want to bring the communist regime in this country further than what it already is. Yes. So Governor J.B. Pritzker, I mean, in their very own bylaws, it talks about how they have to follow the party line. They have to abide by the Constitution of the CCP. And they're not even CCP backed. That's not even accurate. What would be more accurate would be saying, "Hey, this is the Chinese Communist Party."
The company shall set up a party organization and carry out party activities in accordance with the Constitution of the Communist Party of China. It's in their bylaws. The first chapter, Article 9.
You shall abide by the CCP.
Roll the Soviet anthem, the communist anthem. This is how brazen these people are. They're not even. I mean, they're just moving.
My
the harvest is plenty. The labors are few. We're harvesting souls for good, and they're harvesting souls for evil.
My main concern, you think, David Paul, if they erect this electric vehicle battery maker in Manteno, do you think they're going to put up the suicide nets? Probably.
Hey, did you know,
so.
Kat, on another note, do you know that there's going to be an amazing thing that happens? I think it's the 10 o'clock hour, 10:18 or something today. They're going to put an alert out to everybody, so don't be shocked when all of our phones start going off.
What?
They're going to ping every phone.
What?
Are you not aware of this?
What?
Yeah.
What is this?
Look it up on the internet. If it's on the internet, it has to be true. But no, I'm going to get my Faraday bag out and stuff my phone in it so they can't figure out where I'm located at. But yeah, there's going to be a civil defense warning sent out to all electronic phones. Have you been able to find it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I'll look.
yeah, let me see if I have it on my text message, because you know who does the best at informing me of all these things is my beautiful wife, because she said, "Yeah, this is," and I was reading about it. I was like, "You got to be kidding me." So today is
Oh,
the
here it is.
oh, there you go. You found it.
A nationwide emergency alert test will ping your phone on Wednesday. Here's what to expect. Oh my gosh. This is your friendly reminder that the federal government will be conducting an emergency alert test on your phone.
Everybody raise your right hand and repeat after me.
NPR, of course,
Yeah.
reported that these emergency test messages will produce both a sound and a vibration on all cell phones, televisions, and radios.
Yeah, everything.
You would think that people would like send this
Walk
down.
into the light,
I
Emily
mean,
Ann.
the FCC, nobody sent this down
No,
to
no,
us, from what I understand.
no, because we don't have to tell you about anything. You just obey.
Hmm.
Fall into line.
What is the test on October 4th for? What is it for? We want to ensure that the systems continue to be effective and the public understands that uses these alerts and warnings about emergencies, particularly those on a national level.
It's like the communist invasion of
Have you, in your entire life, David Paul? I mean, phones have been around for quite some time. In your
Yes.
entire life, have you ever had a nationwide federal alert come to your phone?
They did it a couple of years ago,
A couple of
which
years?
is interesting, because why don't they repeat it? So
I've never had anything like that.
so you never had it. Yeah, they had something, and the last time it happened, people were really freaking out, right? Because everybody's phones started going out. They didn't even tell people back then. I think they were testing to see if they could do it. Now they know they can do it.
It's going to be 1 p.m. or 1:20 p.m. Central Time.
1:20 p.m. Okay. Make sure you have your Faraday bag. Faraday bag basically limits your phone not trackable. Yeah. Get a Faraday bag. The only problem is as soon as you pop that thing out of the Faraday bag, it's instantly
Faraday bag? What is
Faraday
that?
bag. It blocks the transmission of the cellular signal.
Do you have one?
We have two.
We
But,
have two.
but the thing
So how
is,
big are these bags?
they're like a little pouch side Velcro.
Mm.
Stuff your phone in there.
A Verde bag.
Faraday.
Faraday.
You can get them off Amazon.
Okay.
I'm sure if
I'll get
once
mine
you order
today.
a Faraday bag, you're probably on some list. It's kind of like having an AR-15.
It's kind of like having an AR-15. You're on a
Okay,
list.
we got to figure out a different way to track those bloomin' shines. They've got Faraday bags. They don't want to be known where they're going. Well, sometimes I don't. You know, I am a married man.
I don't want my wife to know.
No, not that. I meant my wife and I am a married man. My wife and I have the Faraday bags.
Okay. Yes.
We don't always want to be tracked. Maybe we want to have a night alone, without Big Daddy government.
Knowing where we're at all
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really scary to read up on, and actually Diane Benjamin, she had the piece on it about how Normal is actually they've adopted a plan to become a smart city. So we're going to be back talking a little bit more. I do want to get to this plus size influencer. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah. It's not meatball.
Not meatball.
Yeah, we got to eat.
Gotta eat. More like we got to drink. They were robbing a liquor store.
Everybody needs food or liquor, or whatever. Or
Same
dope.
thing.
The take and bake shop. Or we're back to the take and bake shop.
Take and bake. All right. We're back. Hold on. I love it. RT, he's commenting. He says, I'm a communist phobic. I'm also a socialist phobic. I don't want these idiots bringing the communist regime to this country. No, nobody wants the communist regime here in America. But that's exactly what JB is doing with Goshen, this company that's going to be erecting some sort of electric vehicle battery maker in Manteno, Illinois. Phil Nagel talking with us about that. He attended the protest a couple of days ago with the Illinois Freedom Caucus. They held a press conference. They were protesting the construction of this battery maker, which is going to cost about $2 billion to create the factory, but yet they're getting $8 billion, which the math doesn't really check out. And JB definitely isn't answering how those numbers add up. So he's not answering those questions. Darren LaHood actually releasing a statement talking about this. He released it to wirepoints.org. He says, I have serious concerns about Governor J.B. Pritzker and the Biden administration's active support for CCP-backed companies. They're not even really CCP-backed companies. They're the CPP or CCP. We read the bylaws. Their number one bylaw. I mean, their bylaws. They're supposed to follow the constitution of communist China. They are supposed to do everything for the party. It's in their bylaws. Okay, so this is the Chinese Communist Party. And he goes on in the statement, he goes, CCP-backed companies looking to expand their foothold in our economy. So that was part of his statement. So Darren LaHood commenting on it. Somebody needs to answer the question. If taxpayers are to pay somebody $8 billion to build a $2 billion factory, can't we find an American company instead of a Chinese one linked to the CCP? Can't we find a different company, an American company? I don't know. I'd love to ask that question of JB.
No, it's control. It was on the stage at the World Economic Forum with Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia. The two of them sat on a panel, and to hear their answers to the questions, this was before he was elected for his second term as governor. The man is a globalist. He's a billionaire. Obviously, now his sister is in charge of dealing with the money that we give to Ukraine. It's these people. You know what, Kat? I can't wait to do my 2-hour show for this Sunday because I'm going to cover it. The 11 plans, the 11 items, the 11 plans global elites have for your future. That's what we're going to go right through, number 1 through 11. It's 2 hours. We can get to all 11 of them, but it's themed. The harvest is plenty. The laborers are few. We see this harvest taking place, and it is just brilliant and beautiful. I was out yesterday in south of town in Hayworth and was watching them combine beans again. And it's amazing. But the analogy between harvesting, these folks are harvesting too. The J.B. Pritzkers of the world, the globalists, the Joe Bidens, they're harvesting. They're harvesting souls for evil, not good. And that's why, later today, we're going to have the National Defense Emergency Indicator to our phones, and everybody's going to hopefully suddenly lose consciousness for a second, similar to Mitch McConnell.
I do want to inform people it's going to happen at 1:20. I didn't know this was a thing. I'm glad that you told me, David Ball. I would have been like, what's going on? But apparently it's some sort of federal emergency management agency wanting to
ping your phone
and your
television and your computer.
So there's going to be a sound,
anything connected, yes,
and a vibration,
yes,
that comes to your phone. Yeah. And you were telling me about a bag that you have,
the Faraday bag.
Yeah, Faraday
bags.
Faraday bags. So go get yours today.
You can order them. You'll probably end up on a list from the FBI if you have your own Faraday bag, because you shouldn't be allowed to cancel your signal. All it basically does is once you put it in the Faraday bag, the cellular signal can't get to the bag, so they can't track your phone inside of Faraday bag. I don't understand the technology. I don't even know how to test the technology, other than people like myself obviously want to know that maybe at some point, and that's even with your phone off. Do you know that, Kat? You just can't turn your phone off, powered off.
Oh, and they can track it even if your phone is
just because
off.
Just because your phone's off doesn't mean you can't find a phone.
Yeah. That's scary. It's scary. I'm gonna get my Faraday bag today. They're not a sponsor. I don't want to be tracked by the government, and that's kind of freaky that's gonna happen at 1:20 p.m. today, where my phone's gonna go and it's gonna sound. And this is supposed to be some sort of, it might even happen on the radio. So 1:20, it might be.
I'm sure it'll happen over the
like a federal test.
I'm assuming it will. We need to look into that, but I got to believe we're going to hear it here on our station. You need to be advised of that. No, this isn't the civil defense warning. It's an emergency broadcast. Yes, test of the emergency broadcasting system.
Well, let's shift gears here because I think the obesity that's going on in the country is an emergency.
Kat, and with this, I just realized my wife pointed this out to me last night. I can't believe all the foods that say bioengineered on them.
Oh, really?
Look at your food.
And it
Any
says
food that you
bioengineered.
eat. I mean, here I had some dark chocolate
Mhm.
from a dark chocolate company, Dove Bar, and I was like, "No way, dark chocolate's so good for you, right?" And sure enough, right on the back, bioengineered. I bought some
Bioengineered.
keto cereal, right on the back of the box, bioengineered. What does bioengineered mean?
What does it mean? Yeah, I know. The ingredients on the back of your food, I mean, it's like a CVS receipt. That's
I
how
have an
long
idea.
these ingredients are, and it's like, "Whoa, what are they putting in all of this?"
Well, but when we talk about the obesity rate in our country,
Mhm.
I believe it's chemically engineered to get your system to crave it.
Oh, yeah.
And and I think that that's what are seeing, the effects of that. Our food is basically toxic to our bodies
Oh, yeah.
because it's causing inflammation and obesity and overweight, at an alarming rate.
And pretty soon, we're going to have to classify morbidly obese people as disabled, according to this woman, because she wants all of these accommodations. And I have to tell you about this and get your reaction, David. So she wants to revolutionize the travel industry, and she wants to make it more accessible, more accepting, and more accommodating. So what she's asking for here is for hotels to make the hallways bigger. She wants chairlift uh, to get inside the pool. She wants to go up and down the stairs. Uh, and I've got a TikTok here. So she posted on TikTok. She's a TikTok influencer, and she calls herself a plus sized. And I'm just saying what she
Just
calls herself.
reporting,
She
yeah.
she says plus size travel and fashion and lifestyle creator. And she
Mhm.
created this TikTok video, and she is listing these several ways hotels can actually create size inclusive amenities, whatever that means.
Hmm.
So let's take a listen here
Mhm.
uh, to this woman. Her name is Jaylyn Cheney. And yeah, so here we go.
It's a accommodating place for all. The needs of plus-size travelers matter just as much as anybody else. And today I'm going to cover what we are looking for in accessible, size-inclusive hotel amenities. Size-inclusive hotel amenities are crucial for ensuring that plus-size travelers feel welcomed, accommodated, and comfortable during their stay. We deserve an environment that respects our needs and body diversity. These are the exact steps that hotels can take to be more size-inclusive and accessible for travelers of all sizes. Number 1 on the list, provide sturdy, wider chairs without armrests in guest rooms, lobbies, and common areas to accommodate different body sizes and types. Number 2 on the list, ensure beds with strong support and a higher weight capacity, along with providing reinforced chairs and wider bathroom facilities. Number 3, make elevators and hallways spacious to allow for easy movement of larger individuals and those utilizing mobility devices. Number 4, install grab bars in showers and near toilets. Offer adjustable handheld shower heads and raised toilet seats for added accessibility. Number 5, train staff to be respectful, understanding, and accommodating to travelers of all sizes. Number
What? She goes on. There's about like 10 different accommodations, but
Never did she once say eat less chicken
no,
or
yes.
eat more chicken.
And I think it's so delusional that she thinks that somehow being fat entitles her to some sort of special treatment. Like, here's an idea. Why don't you
They're
just
overweight. I'm
lose some
sorry.
weight?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There's no personal accountability. We know that the the health hazards that come from being overweight directly impact everything, including the taxpayer dollars, because there are plenty of people, I mean, there's a reason that Oliver Anthony's Richmond north of Richmond, because you almost wonder who's behind this.
Yeah.
Who is behind getting people to be, we have a USDA diet basically, and you know what those diets do? They take small calves and they make them into heifers.
Hmm.
And then of course we eat the meat. Well, if we're following the same diet of taking ourselves from a normal size or an ordinary size person and consuming so much that we are obese and overweight, and now we have people saying, well, that should be just accepted. No, that's not acceptable. people are dying because of obesity. Obviously, we just went through the COVID crisis, and what was one of the comorbidities? Obesity.
Mhm. Lose some weight. Lose some weight. We're not embracing the mental illness. This is what happens when society embraces a mental illness. For some reason, they think that we have to accept all of these degenerate behaviors and these degenerate
Yeah.
behaviors as healthy and beautiful, but it's nothing more than it's truly revolting. And the fact that she thinks that, so this is the same woman. The reason why I pulled the story today, because this is the same woman who suggested that you and I, David, if we're on a
Mhm.
plane, we should pay for her extra seats. So she needs 2 or 3 for she says that she's 6X. So she might need about 6 seats. If she if she wants 6
What?
seats, you and I have to pay for it. We have to increase the cost
Yeah.
of a plane ticket in order to accommodate her 6 or 7 seats that she's taking.
One of the hardest challenges that a person can endure, or I should say face, is losing weight. I
Mhm.
just went through it myself. It was basically 15 pounds. I wanted to lose 15 pounds, and I did that from December through to just last week. I had, fluctuated. My wife and I did that together.
Congratulations, I saw that.
Yeah. And so I know that I can still lose another 10 pounds, and that's what is a healthy weight.
Mhm.
We are just way overweight in this country, and
Mhm.
to glamorize that and
And then
to
to demand people pay for that,
yeah.
it's a whole nother level of delusion. We're gonna be back here on the Morning Buzz. A good friend, David Paul Blumenshine, the DPB show, is on Sundays from 1 to
Yep.
3, joining me in studio today. We're gonna be back talking a little bit about Kevin McCarthy. I do wanna talk about Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi.
She's in the office.
She needed to vacate her office that she was still using as the speaker. Or was she
I
just
can't believe that this is true.
Yeah,
This is
I think it
actually
is.
true.
I think, yeah,
She needs to
they didn't force
vacate
her
her
to
office.
move. I mean, Nance, you're no longer speaker. It's time to move on.
How could Kevin McCarthy allow that to happen?
Well, it's because Kevin and Nancy, I think,
What a
the,
simp.
according to DC Drano,
If that's
that's who
true,
controls
come on,
Kevin
Kevin.
McCarthy
Come
is
on,
Nancy.
Kevin.
That's why what did Kevin do with the J6ers? What did he do with the impeachment? What has he done with a lot of these issues?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back on the other side. Nancy Pelosi, you gotta go. You gotta go, honey. Michael Jackson. I'll never forget. You remember David Paul when Tucker Carlson, he goes, we've seen her. We've seen a rare spotting of Michael Jackson. He's back from the dead. It's Nancy Pelosi. You remember that, right?
Yeah, I do.
It's my
Now that
favorite
you're
clip on
saying
the
that,
internet.
oh my gosh.
I can't believe Tucker got away with that.
Do you know our 435 Congress people in the United States of America, and every one of them who holds office gets $1 million a year to conduct the business of their seat. If you're a U.S. senator like Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, it goes up a little bit. 100 senators get a $3 million, and that could have gone up a little bit, but that was what it was just a couple years ago. I'm sure it's increased because everything goes up, right, in the Biden economy.
You're listening to the Morning Buzz, Cities 92.9. I'm Kat Peterson. That's David Paul Blumenshine. Thanks so much for joining us. You can see us live in studio, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. You can always listen on the app, too. Stream us on the app. We've got David Paul in studio, and we're talking about Nancy Pelosi.
And Kevin McCarthy.
So I'm reading this from Blaze Media.
Yeah.
The interim speaker wants her to vacate an office that
Patrick
she
McHenry,
has in the Capitol.
Yeah.
So Nancy Pelosi continues to have the office of the Speaker of the House, but the Speaker of the House was Kevin McCarthy. Why does she have an office?
She had an office. So, and I don't know how it works out in Springfield or out in Washington, D.C., but in Springfield, the Dems have one area and the Republicans have another area. So I'm assuming that at some point when the speakership was held by the Dems, there's a speaker's office. I mean, I was just telling you, Kat, that I went down to see Alan Skillicorn during one of the many times that I went down to Springfield, and Darren Bailey. And since they were like freshman House reps in Springfield, they got a little office. But yet across the hall where Keith Summers was, and he had been 20 years in as the state rep, and Dan Brady, they had these huge offices. So the size of your office goes up the longer, kind of like corporate America to some degree, as you advance up through the rankings, you get bigger offices.
But that's okay. It's not okay to do that in the federal government because corporate America actually makes a product. And if you're gunning for, a promotion that comes with a bigger office, I don't see the problem with that because you're actually making money. These people are playing with our money.
Yeah.
And they're gunning. Why do you need an office at all? That's my take. I know that they
and I agree because they have staff, right? There's business they have to conduct, and there's things that they have to do. Has it gotten out of control? Of course, everything's out of control. Spending's out of control. Everything is out of order. That's Al Pacino in Justice for All. I'm out of order. You're out of order. This whole blanking system is out of order because it is. We have gotten to be so big that, the old too big to fail. That's what I think Kevin McCarthy was moving with, is how do you fix this thing,
Well, I got to read a little bit of Pelosi's statement that she wrote. She goes, with all the important decisions that the new Republican leadership must address, which are all eagerly awaiting, one of the first actions taken by the new Speaker pro tem was to order me to immediately vacate my office in the Capitol. So she said, she just point out that so that's real. She actually has an office. Why?
And maybe it is the designated speaker's office, and Kevin McCarthy just cowtied to her, compromised with her, which tends to be the reason why Republicans fight amongst themselves, because there are enough conservative Republicans who are tired of compromising. We aren't representing the people by doing that. This isn't about individuals. This is about the people. You're there to represent the people.
Kevin McCarthy not running for really election to that speakership again after he was removed. So,
which tells us a lot.
Yeah.
Probably wasn't going to fulfill the promises that he made
back in January. Yep. Nope. We're going to be back on the other side. This is Cities 92.9. Wow, it has been a packed show, and man, it's always great to talk with you every morning, to pull up a chair, to have a cup of coffee, and to just sit down and have a chat about these things. So, what did we talk about today? Well, Kevin McCarthy removed as the House Speaker. There's talk. There was a Hill staffer who said that Byron Donalds is emerging as a strong contender for that speakership. That's who I want in that speakership. That would be great. But then we also talked about the patriotic student walkout actually coming to a great solution. So the kids walked out of this school because they were upset about the bathroom policy where men were allowed to go into girls' bathrooms. And the school district actually voted that male students can't do that anymore. They implemented a policy that requires students who go into these multi-user facilities to go into these bathrooms that align with their biological sex. And I'm quoting from the policy implemented from the school district. It says, "No person shall enter a restroom, locker room, or shower that is designated for the use of the opposite sex." So the student walkout worked, which doesn't happen all that often. We are winning in all kinds of areas. You just got to find these places where to win, and I think we are going to win. I'm going to pray that we win the Goshen fight. That's going to do it for us. The Goshen CCP-backed company. There was a protest there, and I'm hoping that they win this lawsuit. And there was success in what was it? North Dakota, South Dakota.
And in South Dakota and in Michigan.
South Dakota and in Michigan. There's success there. So maybe
the mask mandate, we were successful at that. School districts around the state said, no, we're not going to do this anymore.
Just find where you can win and really just step out and speak out. That's my advice this morning. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. I love you. See you later.